Yes, a beautiful day. It is Brinetic Sports. I'm here once again, and of course, like I promised, just one day back, I promised you I'll be here to give you radio updates coming in from the sporting world, and I'm here to give you another episode of a few things that are happening in the sporting circles. Today, I feel like I want to really retaliate a few answers from the questions as well as the feedback that I got from a few videos back then, and then also. There are people that also been commenting and asking me where I have been, and of course, there's been a lot that I've been doing. But I also share with you a few things that I've learned, especially moving around the world. But I really want to thank you so much for being part of Binetic Sports, and I really would love to really say thank you for everyone that has showed me the love and for keeping it up there. And for the people that really go into the comment section to insult or trying to demean, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be governed by that. And I really want to thank the subscribers, the new subscribers. I am here to give you the latest news coming in from the sporting circles. And of course, when it comes to infrastructure as well, I'm very excited to give you the latest news coming in from Uganda here. And of course, one of the few things that I wanted to share with, of course, a lot of people were telling me how I do not look at the women's game, and I want to retaliate the fact that there's a video that I did talking about women football, and it has been growing one by one. And for the infrastructure that we have in the country, I think it's all inclusive. And Mr. Inyamondo Spagogo has really worked to see that, we get into the level where we include women in the all the sporting discipline, even in the infrastructure, all the rooms you're seeing, the dressing rooms at stadiums like Mandela National Stadium, women inclusive. They have facilities that will have women being included in that, even the disabled people. So it is very good to see how we are developing as a nation. And I think my next episode will be talking about how the women's game has been developing in nations like South Africa and also here in Uganda here. So I don't want to be driven into that, but I really I wanted to talk about it, and I'll be talking about that in the next coming videos in there. But I really want to encourage you to subscribe more. If you're watching for the first time, please subscribe, say hi to me as well, and we will see how things are happening in there. And of course, today, and some of the questions that have been coming into question here have been to do with the Kibwa Stadium, and a lot of people have been asking what is the latest update. I gave you in the previous video, I showed you an artistic impression of what the stadium might be looking like, just to give you a few things that are coming in from there. That is a 20,000 capacity and an athletics track that is also inclusive in that training facility. In that stadium, two training facilities, track and field, with at least two changing rooms, a 2,000 seater multi-sport indoor stadium. Like I told you, that I am very excited to see multi sports disciplines all in such a stadium. A 25-meter semi-Olympic size swimming pool as well. There is also an outdoor stadium for basketball, netball, as well as volleyball and badminton, spectator piazza, and of course related infrastructure, including the site boundary, electrical, water, ICT, as well as sewage and water waste management plants that are also inclusive in this stadium. Exterior works, hard and soft landscaping, that also will create the beauty, as well as avoid the degradation of the environment with the way things are happening. And of course, the final one is the perimeter fencing and security system. You remember that is also one of the few projects that were done by the UPDF Engineering Brigade, or the Wat Mandela National Stadium in Nambole. So Akibwa Stadium looks very good. And of course, a lot of people, there were questions yesterday. Some people inboxed me and they were talking why really I favor the small stadiums as compared to the bigger stadiums. And there are a lot of benefits that come with small stadiums. Of course, I'm not saying that the big stadiums do not have benefits, because it would be very disrespectful for the big stadium. But I can say that I favor the small stadiums better than the big stadiums. One, because first of all, the the experience, when it comes to the fan experience, you cannot compare the fan experience of the big stadiums and the small stadiums. Yes, some people will say when the fans are so many and they come to the stadiums, it creates that ambience, it creates the fear factor. But when it's a smaller stadium, you remember, if you've been watching the Premier League for some good time, if you've watched teams like Arsenal at the Highbury, a lot of people saying that they miss the ambience that really came with the team having a smaller stadiums. The fans are closer to the pitch, the noise as well. When they make the noise, the atmosphere is really, really, really very huge. So that is one of the few attributes that you can compare a big stadium to a small stadiums. And of course, like I told you, the noise is, if you've been a student of sound and music and all that stuff, you'll get to know that that is the reason why we have studios that are soundproof, because it is easy for you to have everything all together and the noise collected and organized if at all the room is soundproofed very well. So these small stadiums really have a little bit of the noise as well as the sound does not have a lot of surface areas to bounce on. So it is easy. It is easily kind of like bounce back to the pitch, and the teams that really come to the home stadium really will have that feeling of a loud noise as well as the closeness of the fans. So for the home team, it is very advantageous. So imagine you have a team like Chitara FC and they have over 20,000 fans or 15,000 fans, and they're all shouting, and you are now waiting from Kampala. It really looks scary, and that is why teams are resorting to that as well. Then the other thing I think is the community engagement. Usually these small stadiums are located within small communities, so usually it's easy for a lot of people to really access the stadiums. And then the other thing is the community pride as well as the ownership. Feeling that we own this team, we own the stadium, it's a little bit more easier. Just like you see the Alua Hill Stadium that has stalled for so many years, and it was under construction, and of course COVID being one of the few issues, the community in that area felt like they were part of everything that was happening, even if it was a private investor that was going on with the construction. And then the other thing is also because of their easy accessibility in the communities. People can go by foot after doing their work. I imagine someone is having a game this evening at 4 or at whatever time, then you finish your work, then go to the pitch. It's easier for the fans out there to also feel involved into the team. Then the other thing is also it also boosts the community, because local businesses are really very attracted to such, match days and all the other things that come with the game being played in local communities. So it is easier for people to get involved when you compare that to, for example, to a game that is at Mandela National Stadium. The protocol that comes with the big matches sometimes really can affect businesses. So small stadiums, I'll give you an example. Business at Wankuruhuku as compared to a game that is at Nambole is not the same. Usually you'll see a little bit of, especially when you look at the modern Nambole now. The previous Nambole, you'd have a little bit of a way to sneak in things to do the sales, but now there's a lot of laws and tight security that really can affect business as well as things to do with people coming into the stadium. Then the other thing is cost-effective. Building and maintaining this small stadium is really cost-effective. Like I always say this, I think it's very easy for us to have these small stadiums and have them maintained on a daily basis because they are smaller, and of course the financial strain is not too much as compared to them. Then of course, like I told you, they are sustainable, less energy as well as resources to operate it. And you all know that football these days does not generate a lot of money, especially on the local scene here. We don't have a lot of sponsors coming into these teams. We don't have a lot of money, especially great collection coming into this game. So you need something that is sustainable and it's easier, where you would manage a facility that has over 60,000 seats, like plastic seats, to really clean and have people around there to really do the maintenance. It's a little bit easier, even if you employ, for example, if you're going to be employing over 30 people to do maintenance on the stadia, in the stands, as well as the pitch for a stadium like Nambole or the Amahoro Stadium or the Benjamin Mkapa Stadium, the Karasani Stadium as well. If at all you have that kind of number of 50 people to maintain it, for a smaller stadium that is 50,000 in capacity, you might require like 10 people to do the maintenance, because of course the cost of cleaning as well as doing all that stuff is reduced. Even the amount of electricity, the amount of water, everything that you're going to be doing might be a little bit reduced as compared to a bigger stadium. So that cost of operation to me is a very key factor to have these stadiums maintained. Then there is the issue of the versatility. because these small stadiums are really communal stadiums. So things like communal meetings, things like parties, things like music concerts are easily hosted in these stadiums. I'll give you an example. It is easy for you to host a concert at the cricket oval, more than it's easy for you to host one at Nambole Mandela National Stadium. The logistics and everything that comes with it increases the cost of production, which really is very high. So that is why my favor over small stadiums is really concerned. Then the other thing also, managing, of course, is management. Like I told you, security wise, if I told you you're going to do security, checkups and all that stuff, it's easy for a small stadium. Like I told you, maintenance, the crowd control as well, all that lead to a safer as well as more enjoyable experience as compared to a bigger stadium. So I am not just looking at a smaller stadium as something that really is a solution to the footballing development in the country, but I'm looking at it comparing to the countries like Uganda, which don't have a lot of money generated as fees coming in from direct sales of tickets and day-to-day match experience. We don't have in countries like England, when we have a match day, for example, you're having a game between any club, Manchester United or Arsenal, the amount of magazines that are sold, the t-shirts that are sold, the toys that are sold, the amount of money restaurants make, especially on the match day, are really, really very high. So that really gives the money to the clubs, especially for them to spend in things like transfers, redevelopment, and all the other stuff. So that is why we see when you have a team like Manchester United having an old stadium, the roof is leaking and all that stuff. The pressure is on them because the people that pay the money are paying the money, but the money is not doing the job. So that is the difference between countries like the developed countries in England, for example, as well as the Netherlands and all the other teams like Germany. That is the difference, because their problem is not whether the money is coming in. Their problem is how the money is used. A lot of Manchester United fans would say that a lot of money goes into profits that are made by their owners. So in Uganda here, it's the opposite. The money does not come in, and the people that are managing the teams are putting their own monies, which really to me is a disaster, because the amount of money that you put in as an owner will determine how long your club stays functioning. Because I'll give you an example. I'm not saying it in a bad way, but if Mr. Lawrence Mulindwa becomes financially constrained at the moment, then Vipers will suffer directly, because it cannot sustain itself beyond its owner. I'm not saying it can't do it, but the biggest chunk of the money that comes into that club really relies on the owner. And then the other clubs, though Vipers has really tried to generate a lot of money into things like sponsorships and all that stuff, but you cannot give that example to a lot of the other teams in the Premier League of Uganda here. So that is where we are lacking in there. Not only Uganda, but even in Kenya. The sponsorships are there. Yes, a little bit of better sponsorship in football in Kenya than in Uganda, but still there's a lot that is still lacking, especially with the way things are coming in there. And of course, one of the other things that I really want us to encourage, especially everyone who really develops such infrastructure, even in football management, clubs out there, we need what we call a three-legged business model, whereby these clubs have what it takes to really sustain themselves. First of all, they need to be able to attract the business, and then they need to be able to maintain and they call it retention of that is the business out there. And then there's also need for new entrepreneurship ideas that come into to sustain already what we have, but also generate better ideas of generating monies, as well as finance that comes into the game. So that three-leg model really in any business is the way for you to go forward. If at all you don't have things that attract the financiers to come into the game and retain them, and then create new models of how to generate money, that will always be a problem. And that is, of course, the basics of administration in any game. You need to understand how to really retain anyone that comes on board, especially on board that generates the money. So I think that is where we are at as a nation. We really need to really focus more on these small and manageable stadiums as compared to the bigger stadiums, because from that it will be easy for us to manage games. And then the other issues that we have of inclusion of youngsters, inclusion of women, inclusion of the disabled, all those really will be easier for us to generate a lot of talent, especially on the local scene. I saw a clip that talks about the three nations of East Africa, talking about how Uganda and governance and of course freedom, how we don't leak in any way. Then they went on the other side and talked about how Kenya and things to do with football stars, how they don't link. It was a little bit of embarrassment to Kenya because we've had good stars like the likes of McDonald Maringa coming in and being very influential, especially to this nation with the way they spread, and a lot of the other stars that have played for bigger clubs. Now at the moment, Kenya is not generating those stars because a lot has been happening, especially not only to do with the infrastructure, but their game has had a lot of issues with youth development and all the other stuff. And you can even see now Uganda on the under 20 level, especially the Zekafa level, they are now doing very well and they are beating everyone around. But you compare teams like Kenya and teams like Tanzania. Tanzania is doing a little bit more better, but when you compare it to Kenya, especially, and Rwanda, you will see that there's something lacking in there. But all that is all I had to say. We should really focus on developing smaller but manageable infrastructure, and I really, really want to see that happen if at all we are to develop our game. And of course, we will be coming back more with at least something to do with the women's game. I think that it will be a talk of town, something to do in the next coming days. I'll be telling you exactly what I think of the women's game and what we need to do for us to see at least something like a development in there, especially financially as well as on the pitch. My name's Brian Rangarolan. It is Brianetic Sports. Stay safe and enjoy your day. Bye-bye.